Society on BCTV is supported in part by the Highlands at Wyomissing.
Hello and welcome to the monthly program of the Historical Society of Berks County. I'm your host, George M. Miser IX, President of the Historical Society of Berks County and publisher of the Historical Review of Berks County, the Society's quarterly magazine published continuously since October of 1935. Not incidentally, most back issues of the review are available from the 1930s to the present time. It should be noted that this program is telecast live on the first Wednesday of each month at 7. It repeats this Friday night at 10, Saturday at 6, and Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Welcome all to our February 2008 program. Seated beside me is my co-host, Gloria Jean Miser, back from assignment. And to her left are Sime Bertlet, Executive Director of the Historical Society of Berks County.
Good evening, George.
Good evening. And Joshua Blay, Curator and Associate Director of our Historical Society.
Good evening, George.
Good evening.
The Society's museum, library, gift shop, and exhibition hall are open Tuesday through Saturday from 9 to 4. The shop is fully stocked with Reading and Berks histories by a variety of present-day and old-time authors. Also, you will find an interesting stock of Lester Brininger pottery recently acquired for the shop.
You know, one of the greatest deals in Berks County is a membership to the Historical Society of Berks County. For $30, you can become a part of the fun and the excitement that's going on at the Historical Society these days. In addition to that, and wonderful exhibits such as our current Beer and Pretzels Berks County style and our upcoming All Aboard, celebrating the 175th anniversary of the Reading Railroad, you're going to get the quarterly Historical Review of Berks County, published 4 times a year. This is an award-winning magazine that's second to none. It really is that good. In addition to that, you also get notification in the members' updates of all the upcoming events that are going on at the Historical Society, as well as free admission to the library and the museum. If you join as a family member for $40, you get everybody in your household under the same roof gets admission into the Historical Society, to all the events, to all the library events, the museum events for free. So it really is a great deal that everybody in Berks County ought to take advantage of.
And while we're on the subject of memberships, we remind viewers that your Berks Community Television, BCTV, now observing its 31st anniversary, is a survivor in a tough venue and a unique entity in that it's interactive. You're encouraged to call in with your questions and comments. BCTV needs and deserves your support. Why not salute BCTV for all the great shows it provides to Reading and Berks, and send a check for $30 for a year's membership. Mail your check to BCTV, 645 Penn Street, Reading, PA 19601. Remember, time passes, but operating expenses never go away. By the way, we just heard something very interesting as we came in this evening, and that is this program that you're watching will be streamed all over the world, and it's also available on our Historical Society's homepage. For the version that BCTV is streaming anywhere at all, www.bctv.org. That's easy, bctv.org. When you open it up, you'll see a place to click for our programming. And there you can watch what's on BCTV. So you have a choice of either the BC, it would be easy from now on. Either use their website or the Historical Society's website. Anyhow, I believe, Joshua, your turn.
Yes, I have some things here. Before we get started with our new bunch of items, we've moved beyond pretzels and beer now. Our current exhibit right now is Beer and Pretzels Berks County style, opened up December 1st. Believe it or not, it's sad to say, but it actually does close in about 5 weeks. It has been one of our most popular exhibits by far. We've had a lot of people coming in enjoying the employee posters from Sunshine and Reading, recognizing their brothers, their uncles, their friends, their neighbors. And it's been really, really popular exhibit. We've had a lot of great coverage of it, and we're very, very happy with the reception it's received. So please do come in. This is going to be a once-in-a-lifetime assemblage of items.
True. Once in a lifetime. They'll never get those things together again.
Never, never. We're talking about doing an online exhibit after the exhibit closes, but it's nothing like being there in person, actually walking through the exhibit itself. And it's just been an amazing collaboration, an amazing exhibit. Our next exhibit coming up, I mentioned Beer and Pretzels, closes March 15th at 4 o'clock, so get in there. Even at 3:30 or 3:45, we'll let you in as long as you want to have a look at the exhibit on the last day there. But our next exhibit coming up is the All Aboard the 175th anniversary of the Reading Company, and that opens to the public on April 12th, 2008 at 1 o'clock, and it runs till January 10th, 2009. And I brought along some items here. One of our library volunteers, Ruth Schaefer, just like the Beer and Pretzel companies actually, had a lot of family members that worked for the company just as much as the Beer and Pretzels did, and this is something that was awarded to John Schaefer. Hopefully we can get this on a camera somehow. So it's a little small. Oh, there we go. There you go. This was a retirement piece given to John C. Schaefer for 48 years of service. He retired from the electrical shop. It's a wonderful retirement gift. The brass casting here, I believe, was made right there in the shop.
I'm sure.
It's a figurine, or a little representation of a T1 class locomotive, which a lot of people remember from the Reading Company, because that's what were used on the Rambles during the late 50s and 60s. We also have another one. This is a much older one. This is shows up pretty well on the camera. This is owned by one of our older descendants, only older relatives. You can see it's marked P&R on top of the box, right there in the middle. The lettering up top is a little hard, but obviously a lot of good use and a lot of wear and tear, but you can still recognize the P&R. Now the P&R became the Reading Company about 1924 when they reorganized. They changed their name to the Reading Company, but of course they were mostly a railroad company, so a lot of people refer to them as the Reading Railroad. Even the official name is the Reading Company. I got a few more things here, a little further in time.
What is that, Joshua?
Pardon?
Is that a lunch pail?
It's some sort of a toolbox. There's two compartments inside. It's not very interesting on the inside. It's more interesting to see. I believe the lender uses it for storing or sewing materials. Keeps in good shape. Another one of her family relatives, I'll actually leave this up here so we can get a good look at this fine young gentleman up here. His name was Vern G. Brooks, Ruth's grandfather. He was a engineer for the Philadelphia and Reading Company. We actually have another picture of him here while working for the company itself. I'll lean that up against the box too so you can get a good shot of that. That's a wonderful shot of him. He's the gentleman, as you zoom up a little closer there, he's the gentleman standing above the lanterns you see placed there on the rail in front of the locomotive there. But Vern Brooks, unfortunately, railroading was very, very dangerous back then. It still is a very, very dangerous industry, but even more so back then. They used to say back then, a gentleman applying for a job on the railroad, you could tell the amount of experience he had by the number of fingers he had left on his hands.
Wow.
So if he was a guy saying he had a lot of experience with all 10 digits intact, you know, he was probably fibbing a little bit. But that's Vern right there above the lanterns there. He wasn't quite in engine service right here. He's a little too clean for that. I'm not sure what capacity he would have operated then. But he eventually did become a railroad engineer with the Philadelphia and Reading Railroad, and he was unfortunately killed while on duty at age 27. He was killed on October 10th, 1906. He was actually located he was actually killed about a mile away here from the BC-TV studios on the other side of the river near the Schuylkill Avenue Bridge. His train stopped and he got out to look at something and he leaned out the cab. It's the operating compartment of the locomotive, they call it the cab. Leaned outside of the cab and he was struck by an opposing train. George has a...
That was 1841, the one that I'm talking about.
Okay, this was another one.
Yeah, because in those days, you know, the tracks were so close together before the cars got bigger. It was about 1840. You know, that was down around Neversink. A fellow was doing something and he heard a noise, and he stuck his head out, and he realized it was a train coming the other way. And by the time he realized it, took his head off, and the fellows picked up his head and put it in a burlap bag and took it to his wife.
That was sensitive.
Yes. Guess what I have?
Was the train, he said the train was stopped when he...
Yeah, the train was stopped. We actually have his last order. This also comes from Lou Schaefer. The top piece of paper, it's going to be hard to read, but that's his last work order. It was a card asking him to report. Unfortunately, it just doesn't show it very well on the camera here, but I'll read what it says. It says, Philadelphia and Reading Railway Company, Reading, Pennsylvania, October 10th, 1906, to V.F. Brooks at 825 Pear Street, I believe. The note is arranged to be at P&R Roundhouse for your engine at 7:15 a.m. He was killed that same day, so that's his last work
And that was
order.
the tracks that go under the Schuylkill Avenue Bridge.
That's correct. That's exactly where it happened.
There used to be a lot of activity down there. They used to stop down there. I'm not sure why. Well, there was a big coal yard at one time.
Okay.
Down there.
But so we have a lot of other information. A lot of the different members of the family. We have some of the original newspaper column here, saying how he was killed. And there was actually another person killed near Birdsboro that day. Brooks, you can see right there at the top right.
2 in 1 day.
2 in 1 day.
It was dangerous work.
Yes, it was, and it still is. But things have been greatly improved, although it's still a very dangerous industry. These items are loaned to us, but this item here. This was his wife's mourning veil. Her name was Olive MacLean. This was her mourning veil. That's the Burns widow. She would have worn this.
That's in outstanding shape.
I
Yeah.
was going to say, that's remarkable condition.
It's very well cared for. Ruth has loaned a number of items to us beforehand for exhibit, and they've always been very, very nicely taken care of. It's wonderful to see. A lot of families cherish their items. It's wonderful to see they keep in great shape. Got a couple of other items here for you I might be interested in. First one, this is a notice from August 8th, 1862. It says, all employees of the Philadelphia Reading Railroad Company who may enlist in the service of the United States, this is the time of the Civil War, for the purpose of crushing the rebellion now threaten the liberties of our country, are hereby assured that their respective situations will be kept open and given to them immediately on their return, and that in fact of their volunteering to defend their country in this emergency will be considered hereafter as greatly in their favor for promotion to any suitable positions in the service of the company. So basically, if you survive the Civil War and come back alive, you're guaranteed a position, and you might have a good chance of being promoted at the same time. We have a lot of good photographs while on the exhibit, not only during the Civil War, but also in World War I and World War II of Berks County servicemen and women going off to the service in trains, because a lot of, even to the Korean War, not so much the Vietnam War, of course, but trains were the most prevalent forms of transportation that time. I was actually just reading some stories of some troop trains. Pullman conductors would be gone 21 days at a time doing troop trains all across the country. And here's another interesting item. This is from our library collection. This is an official notice of the discontinuation of passenger service to Sladington and also Coatesville. I believe the date is 1949. Coatesville, that was on the Wilmington and Northern branch that went south of Birdsboro towards Wilmington, down through Coatesville. The Grace Mine was on this railroad branch. And unfortunately, the northern half, north of Coatesville, is gone, but the southern half, Coatesville to Wilmington, is still intact and in use. But what's that park? Is that French Creek State Park there? Or?
Yeah.
Yep. There must have been a very scenic line at some point. They also had a spur line to another picnic line, but that was called the W&N, the Wilmington and Northern. Another item here. Just picked this up today. Our good friends down at the Abraham Lincoln Hotel, they've been collecting some local items of interest that they display in their restaurant. And this is from the Square and Compass Club. Oh, sorry about that.
Oh, yeah.
This is from the Square and Compass Club, which was the Reading Company organization of Masonics, both active and retired employees of the Reading Company. And this is a program from 1960 that was held at the Abraham Lincoln Hotel in October of 1960. E.P. Gangler, the president at the time, he presented the evening talk at the program. So we're going to have a lot of good stuff, and we're also loaning a bunch of items from a lot of individuals. Also the Red Museum of Pennsylvania in Strasburg, working with a few other museums, including the Franklin Institute. So it's going to be a wonderful collaboration of items. If you got anything, please give me a call at the Historical Society, 610-375-4375. All items will be fully insured for the duration of the exhibit. And please join us. I hope you really can contribute something to the exhibit. Like I said, the exhibit closes January 10th, 2009, and Beer and Pretzels closes March 15th.
Are we going to keep as a surprise that thing which is coming back to us?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. That'll be a great surprise.
Stay tuned for another,
oh, yes.
hopefully come to see you in the next...
We're not going to bring that in here and put it on the table?
Not quite.
Okay.
But stay tuned to BC-TV show and George's News Bits. Something neat's coming if we can. It's just about all set, but we want to hold back just a little bit to keep up the suspense.
And again, we urge people, if they haven't seen that Beer and Pretzels exhibit, that is an absolutely incredible, all through the whole downstairs, the first floor of our society building, there's memorabilia, and there are examples there of, like for instance, the Boyertown Brewery. I've never seen Boyertown Brewery items, and there are some great things there. The Keystone Brewery, those are really obscure, and there are some beautiful Keystone Brewery things that are like those engravings.
We've actually had some offers, some people from the area who remember the old pretzel places like Reddy's or Sturgis or even Fallers. We've actually had some offers of people looking to buy some cans because they just had so much fun memories, or they connected in some way to the family.
Neat.
So we might actually do a couple of transactions, not of our own stuff, of course, but we might actually, some people actually might gain a few tins out of the exhibit.
That's great.
Because they've never seen the tins before.
No, there's some really great ones
Never
there.
seen them before.
About the time the Beer and Pretzels exhibit opened, we received shipment of the Society's latest publication, The Passing Scene, Volume 15, or hardbound. Would you believe I left a copy at home? But anyhow, the hardbound book of 272 pages with 360 photographs, 50 now and then paired pictures, and a comprehensive index of 2,451 entries. Volume 15 is now available at the Historical Society at 940 Center Avenue, Reading, for $45 even money. Books can be obtained by mail for $50, tax included. If any of you would be interested in getting anything by mail, call the Society, ask for Gloria, and we can help you. Again, the gift shop and books, whatever, are the Society is open from 9 to 4, Tuesday through Saturday.
Could I add, George?
Sure,
Volume 13. Volume 13 for The Passing Scene is also available at $30, cash and carry only, no deliveries. But it's a special sale. It's worth the price for the color of the cover alone.
Absolutely.
It's a beautiful
You bet.
color cover, about $30 to complete your collection.
That's true. In addition to the general potpourri of photographs in Volume 15, representing all parts of the city and county, including the popular Carsonia Park section, Volume 15 contains some major stories. The most popular one, to my great surprise, has turned out to be the Uncle Jack and Mary Lou story and Himmelreich's Grove. One of the people who volunteers at the Historical Society in the library came in and said, well, George, you can't imagine how surprised I was to find myself in your new book twice. Well, I knew about the one picture because he's holding a boat that he had made, but there's a picture in there, and it's there must be 1,000 people on that photograph of the stage, Uncle Jack and Mary Lou on the stage at Himmelreich's Grove up there near Wummelsdorf, and right down front on the left-hand side is this fella, Glenn Wenrich from Muhlenberg Township, with, he's about 8 or 9 years old, I guess, with his mother and all kinds of relatives, but you could clearly identify that whole family on that photograph. That was a big surprise to him and a big surprise to me. The Gruber Wagons is a good section there in Gruber Wagons. A very interesting section is Onyx Cave. And Onyx Cave closed quite a number of years ago, but you can tour it through the photographs that are in the book. And the sad story of Susanna Cox, the last woman publicly executed in Pennsylvania for the crime of infanticide. She was launched into eternity on June the 10th, 1809, up in the city park, and buried at the village of Hampton. And when they widened Hampden Boulevard in 1905, they found her skeleton. She was buried on the farm property of her brother-in-law. And if any of you folks know Hampden Park, there's a spring house up there. And below that spring house, right along Hampden Boulevard today, was where her skeleton was found in 1905. It was reported in the Reading Times.
Still no word of what became of it?
We have no idea. I read all the newspapers for months. And only the Times, there on the front page, only the Times had the article in about finding her skeleton, but it didn't appear in anywhere else. It was the only report of it.
I sort of wonder with the publication of the volume 15 if anything would have surfaced on what became of the body, or the remains, shall we say. Nothing.
Yeah. John Kotzemoyer was her brother-in-law, and if you check the old maps, that was his property. And she was afraid that she was such an object of public curiosity. She was afraid of having her body snatched, so she stipulated that it was to be buried in an obscure place and guarded for X number of days. June the 10th, 1809 was oppressively hot. So after being kept there for a couple of days, there was not a great concern about her being taken thereafter. But that's where she remained until they found the remains in 1905. The story is called, it was written by a president of the Historical Society years ago, and it was written in 1901 for a Sunday afternoon program. The thing was called Susanna Cox, Her Crime and Its Expiation. Louis Richards was the fellow who wrote the story. He had a thing about those kinds of stories, and he delivered it to the membership. It's a fascinating story, and we ran it in volume 15, word for word. And I also included the poem that was written all about her crime and its expiation. And they mentioned in there who the gentleman was who got Susanna Cox in a family way.
So to speak.
Yes, so to speak. It was Mr. Mertz. And we know where Mr. Mertz lived. As a matter of fact, I have a picture in there of the log cabin, which is now gone, where he lived close to the farm where the incident took place. And it would be down in Limekill, off Limekill Road. Anyhow, and there's a complete account in there also of the Ole Valley Trolley, which is a fascinating story. The Ole Valley of the Boyertown Trolley ran from Carsonia Park down 73, the back way into Boyertown, and stopped at the railroad tracks. But actually the cars left 5th and Penn from Reading, and they went to Carsonia, and it was at Carsonia where the real trip down to Boyertown took place. It went from Carsonia Park down to Ole Line, Pleasantville, Shanesville, and into Boyertown to the railroad crossing. I believe we're going to be, I believe we could have a few slides at this time. And then we'll come back and cover some other things. It was a stormy night. Oh, that's better.
Like tonight.
Yes. That's Sterling, the home of the late Gertrude Sternberg, on Center Avenue, directly across from Charles Evans Cemetery, and a stone's throw from the Historical Society of Berks County. J. Hervey Sternberg built Sterling. It was the second mansion that he owned, actually, in the area on Center Avenue. And it was built in the 1890s, I think the date zone is 1893 or 94. Beautiful place. And the interesting thing is that everyone who has visited there always uses that entrance, and they think that's the front door, but in point of fact, the front door is on the opposite side of the building facing Robinson Street. It's interesting to note that there was a resort on this property. J. Hervey Sternberg, Gertrude Sternberg's dad, bought Andalusia Park and Driving Ground, laterally operated by the Madeira family, tore down the old resort. It was called Andalusia Hall. It was a rather large rectangular building that fronted on Center Avenue, very close to the curb, and it faced directly the entrance to Charles Evans Cemetery. He bought that, and they used to have a horse run in there on the north side. As you look at the front of that building from Charles Evans Cemetery, would have been off to the right. And they used to have concerts, by the way, off to the left. They had a band shell that would today be in the middle of Robinson Street. That's long since gone. I mean, they put the streets in, you know, they did a lot of arranging around that place. But that is Sterling as it appeared a long, long time ago. As a matter of fact, the little girl that you see, or maybe don't see, there in the foreground, along with her father and her mother, was Gertrude Sternberg. Now, Gertrude was born, I think, about 1898, and the girl there looks to be about 6 or 7, so that gives you an idea when that picture was taken. That's J. Herbie Sternberg, the industrialist who had Sternberg Nut and Bolt Works in Reading. You know, he had a patent on cold pressing nuts and bolts. But that's J. Herbie there on the left-hand side, Gertrude Sternberg's mother, and little Gertrude Sternberg, who lived well into her 90s at the time that she died. And then after her death, Sterling, the home, was sold. That is a fabulous place. And at this point, there are many of you who are watching this thing who have probably been there for one sort of thing after another. Gertrude Sternberg was a great hostess whenever things were held there during her lifetime. We were quite a number of her soirees and enjoyed them very thoroughly. She always mentioned with great pride the fact that she, her dad, and her granddad lived through some part of the life of every president of the United States. George Washington died in 1799, and her grandfather was born in 1797. And Gertrude herself lived until Clinton's time. So that between George Washington and Clinton, Gertrude, her dad, and her granddad were around during the lifetimes, some part of the lifetime of all those presidents. Anyhow, that's the story of Sterling, S-T-I-R-L-I-N-G. This one, maybe you want to talk about that, but you recognize that one?
Oh, I sure do. This is the Lauer's tent at the Berks County Fair up in City Park. And this actually was in the exhibit before the Passing Scene book came out.
You scooped me.
Yeah, with your permission, I might add. Beautiful picture. We have a more modern photo of a old Reading beer tent at another location of the former fairgrounds, up at where Boscov's, where the Fairground Square Mall is today.
I'd like to point out that every photograph in Passing Scene Volume 15 has been meticulously restored. There are no pictures with ugly marks, dust spots, or dirt in the sky. This, believe it or not, was a tintype or a ferrotype print. It measured 1 by 2.5 inches, and it was black. So a great deal of restoration work, and it was scratched. Those tintypes had like a thin coating on them, of like a shellac or a lacquer, and that they scratched very easily. So I got rid of all the scratch marks and lightened it up, and did a good deal of filling in to get rid of those nasty marks that had been on that. But that was a tiny little, what they used to call a tintype, really dark. That turned out extremely well. I have about four hours in on that particular photograph, restoring it.
The old Reading beer tent at the fairgrounds, that one had a brass band. I don't see a brass band in this one, George.
But they had other things too at the fairgrounds. Yeah, right there on the...
Like the armed guards.
Yeah, right. There was a what was it? Andrews, was it Andrews or Sammy's? Were right near there. I guess the next stand up, and I always admired them. They had the biggest old-fashioned GE refrigerator with a unit on top that I ever saw. And I often wondered whatever happened to that thing when they closed the fairgrounds. That was a real antique. That went back to the 20s. Well, this is very close to the Historical Society. It's only a block down. That's Center Avenue and Windsor Street. Now, the real interest in this picture, other than there on the left-hand side, the one that has the old the Ford in front of it, that's about a 1929, 1930. I can't see the hubcaps, but you can always tell whether it's a 28, a 29, or a 30, or a 31 by the hubcaps. If you have a big hubcap, it's 30, 31. If they have a small one,
looks like a small one.
Is it? Then that would be 28 or 29. That is the mansion that used to sit there, and if you can pull back a little bit so we can see that inset. There are 50 of those now and then kinds of pictures in the book. That's what you see on that site today. That is exactly the same building. And those of you with keen perception will notice that there's been some modifications made over the course of time. But that's exactly the same building, with the towers removed, with the roof flattened, with that porching taken away. But that's how that looked around 1930.
Quick little comment, George.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just found this past week in the museum collection. You can see in that picture there's some catenary for the trolley.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was part of the Riverside line.
That was the Riverside line.
Which went out in 46 or 47. When
47, I think.
47, okay. When they took that line out, the custodian at the Historical Society at the time saved an 8-inch section of trolley rail.
Did you really?
Yes, and it's sitting in my office right now. I just found it and just had it cleaned up. But it's a section of trolley rail. It was right, they even wrote on the rail at the time, 1947, corner of Center and Spring, because the trolley used to
That's interesting.
make a left-hand corner there to go down Spring Street.
Yeah.
So there's a piece of trolley track from that same line sitting in my office.
That used to go down to Windsor, then go up Schuylkill Avenue.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I was on that trolley the last day that ran. That was 1947.
Well, I have a section of track you ran over, George.
I was on that piece of track.
Yeah. It's sitting in my office if you want to come see it sometime.
I can finally think of his name. Mrs. Sanders, Mrs. Mengel, and that fellow were the only 3 people that ran the society, and they were all half days those days. Okay, there's a section in there on this.
I still don't.
That's Mr. Eddy. And Mr. Eddy invented a system of taking photographs high up in the sky using 3 kites connected sort of in tandem, and that would support a camera that was fair. How in the world they ever studied that camera? Look, there's one of the kites. That's he down below holding up one of his kites. He had a very special design that was patented. They called it the Eddy kite. And you can notice that the cross piece is curved. On all the other kites, believe it or not, it was a flat piece. And by curving that, he did something that gave it great stabilization that nobody else's kites ever had. And that's called the Eddy kite. And he went, let me see, 1898, during Reading's sesquicentennial, he came to Reading in the month of June, I believe, and took a series of photographs. And Chris Papadakis, our good friend from the West Lawn area, came across a box with a complete collection of those Eddy photographs. And he lent them for volume 15. It's a very interesting section in volume 15. That, by the way, you see him up there. Those were taken, you know, when you think about the film being so slow those days, in 1898, the ASA rating on film was about 5. Now, how in the world they could study a camera, because they had to have a large aperture, I would think, with film that slow, and it didn't blur. Mm-hmm. I think it's an absolute miracle. He's in all the encyclopedias. If you go on the internet, you'll find all kinds of things about Eddy and his kite. And what I found interesting about these pictures, by the way, there's the kite string diagonal across the lower right-hand corner. You see that? Mm-hmm. That's the kite string.
I'd like to see somebody reenact that.
Yeah, I can't imagine his doing that.
I have a hard...
How would you ever study a camera? And the camera, you know, was, I'm going to guess, was it about 8 by 8?
What kind of shutter speed did they have then, George?
They went up to 100. But
that's not very...
No. They would go to a 1/100th of a second, but I would bet. But I don't see, how did he study that thing? I'll never understand that, because even when I first started taking pictures and you had ASAs of 45, that was slow, and 5 was ridiculously slow. Mm-hmm. But anyhow, look how sharp that is for being taken from a kite. Now, what I found so fascinating about these pictures is the fact that you see the backs of all of those buildings there in the 500 block of Penn on the north side, and I've never seen the backs of all those buildings. Only from a kite could you take that picture. Over there is the Mansion House Hotel in the other corner, where the McDonald's was built later. The Mansion House was the finest hotel in all of Berks County. You can see it has 6 stories. It was originally 4 stories, and in 1893, Mr. Umble, the proprietor, added 2 more stories. It's a cute story about that. The bottom was brownstone, and he added the top 2 stories in brick. And the paper took great exception about that this was an aesthetic travesty, that you had these 2 different building materials. So in order to atone for his aesthetic sin, he painted the entire building one color, canary yellow, which it remained until they tore the building down during that fateful year of 1937. We're going to break and have Simon give us a little talk, and then we're going to come back again. If we can take a little break at this point.
Okay.
I believe, Simon, you have some things to report to us, some fascinating things.
I really do, George. And, you know, we've talked about the beer and pretzels, and we talked about the 175th anniversary of the Reading Railroad. But we have a vision and a dream that's really about to come true, and that's the completion of the Henry Janssen Library. For the viewers that don't know, in 2005, the Historical Society purchased the old M&T Bank building directly behind our main facility at 940 Center Avenue, and with the intent of turning it into the new library. Well, through events like Sousa and some very generous benefactors, we were able to start the renovations on this project. And it's really important because, as I said, it's a dream come true. George and I have talked many times about in Berks County is the home to 40 to 50 of the major family names in the United States. And people come here from all over the world to do research. And they come from California, they come from international cities, Florida, Georgia, you name it, Idaho, Iowa. And when they come here, in many cases, it's the first impression that they get of Berks County. And when they come into the Historical Society and see the magnificent artwork that we have by the famous Berks County artists like Razor and Devlin and Fred Spang and Christopher I. Scher, it really is impressive. And they comment all the time that we never knew that the historic legacy was as deep and as rich as it is here. And this Janssen Library is going to even be better at promoting that and allowing these people to do research. But even more important, I think it's, in addition to what it offers and what it shows, the good impression that it shows of Greater Reading and Berks County, it also acts as a very stabilizing ballast for the community and the neighborhood that we live in. This is going to be a facility that, like I said, that adds a great deal to Center Park and the area in which it resides. And it's a big project, too. This is a $1.1 million project after everything is all said and done. And we can be all very proud that we've raised all but about $300,000 of it to finance this project. We still have about $300,000 after it's all said and done that we'll be debt that we'll be having to retire. But that's a very manageable sum. I would suggest, and I would invite anyone who is interested in maybe helping us on this project to contact me. It's very worthwhile and it's good for the city. So the Henry Janssen Library, it'll be completed in approximately 3 to 4 months. We're anticipating late spring. And when it is completed, I must remind everybody who uses the Janssen Library that when it is completed in late spring, we're going to have to close our existing library to facilitate the move that will be necessary. And we anticipate that that's going to take between 2 weeks and probably a month. So I'd really like to, advise you that, and during that time, parking will be a little bit restricted, so contact us at the Historical Society or go onto our website for details as to when that is going to happen, and and make your plans accordingly. And I would also invite you, if you would like to help us with the move, if you'd like to volunteer. There's going to be a lot of toting and lifting when we go to move that library, but we'd be more than happy if you'd like to do that. You can contact Barbara Brophy at the Historical Society at 610-375-4375, and you'll be able to take part in this very monumental and very worthwhile endeavor. Other things that are going on at the Historical Society, we have the Hendel House this coming Saturday, the 9th of February. We're going to have one of our first of an ongoing Handel open house, and the Handel House will be open from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And in conjunction with that open house, we're going to have Sherry Chrisman of Creations by Sherry. She will be on hand demonstrating and hosting a workshop on archiving your family history and creating a family heritage album. This is a free event, so if you've ever thought that you might like to look into this and see what is involved, Sherry is going to be there to talk to you about what you need to use, how you need to do it. If you want to bring pictures that you've been thinking about putting into a family heritage album, she'll be able to instruct you on the best ways for preserving those. So that's going to be again at the Handel House this coming Saturday, February 9th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. and again it is free. The open house in April will be held, I don't have the date right on the top of my head. Gloria, do you remember?
I think we said April 12th. I think it was April 12th.
April 12th, I believe so. And we're going to have a book signing at there. And I see, George, that you have some books in there that will be part of that book signing. So we want to make the Handel House, when Mrs. Perfect gifted the Handel House to us back in 2000, she did it with the intent that we would open it to the public and allow the people of Reading and Berks County to see just this wonderful architectural treasure and
which has a new coat of paint.
Oh, and a beautiful coat of paint too. But it'll be even better when the weather warms up a little bit more. We can put a little bit more gold on that. Yes, we have to add a few more touches to that, but it is beautiful. We've just come through with a major renovation on the Handel property, complete millwork restoration as well as paint, and it's a 5-color paint scheme as well as a new mahogany front porch.
Beautiful
It's beautiful.
A mahogany front porch.
Yep.
Imagine that.
It's
gorgeous.
It is lovely.
It's gorgeous.
So anyway, that's some of the things that we're having going on at the Handel House. But I'll also remind you another thing that's going on at the Handel. Actually, excuse me. This is going on at the main facility at Historical Society at 940 Center Avenue, and that is Kits Caboodle Interactive Children's Theater. That's going to be held on Saturday, March 8th. Okay, it'll be held at 10 p.m. and that's going to. And this year's interactive theater, Kits Caboodle, is going to be Grace the Pirate.
A.M.
10 a.m. Did I say? Okay, 10 a.m. That's right, 10 a.m.
You can come at 10 p.m., but we won't be there.
We won't be there. But anyway, it's going to be Grace the Pirate, and this is great. I mean, this interactive theater is really wonderful. You know, the audience becomes part of the show, and there's a lot of improvisation, a lot of music.
It's fun for kids.
It really is. It's good. It's children 5 years and up, and the best thing is it's free. Like many of the events that the Historical Society puts on for our youth education program, they are free for the entire public, the citizens of all over, but we tailor them to Berks County. So that's going to be a very good event, and we look forward to everybody coming down.
Very good, Simon. I'm looking at the table here, and I realize that there, in addition to the new Passing Scene book, which is available, 2 other books have just been introduced in the bookstore at the Historical Society. This one is a dandy. This was a project that Charlie Adams worked on. Famous radio personality from WEEU, Once Upon a Time in Berks. What Charlie did was to go through the old Reading Eagles and went through the old Reading Eagles and picked out interesting photographs, well, not photographs, excuse me, interesting drawings. Prior to 1910, most illustrations in newspapers were what they called woodcuts. And you can see there's good detail. How in the world they ever carved those things or engraved them, I can't imagine, because some of them are rather small. But they used woodcut illustrations. He picked out the most interesting woodcuts that he could find, and then he wrote a story, or he captioned those individual woodcuts. And what I did, I helped Charlie on this project in a minor sort of way. Charlie did most of the work. I annotated his annotations. I commented on his comments, and so we both had input into this thing. The book has 88 pictures. This is a neat one. Let's see, which camera are we on? Okay, 88 pictures, and it's a neat section there on school days. You people might recognize some of those buildings. The one there, well, I see the Shillington building is there, and the one on Galen Hall Road, what they called they called it something else, but it was actually called the Green Terrace School. What's at the top? Oh, Why Missing? How could I forget that one? Yeah, the Why Missing School. That's now, what, the Institute of the Arts at Why Missing. It was originally the Why Missing Public School. Now it's the Institute of the Arts, earlier called the Why Missing Institute. Anyhow, this is full of really interesting material. Interesting article here. Oh, that page has to do with the problem with the trains crossing the main street in Reading at 7th.
We'll be talking about that in our upcoming railroad exhibit.
Yeah, that's right.
Still a problem to this day, although it's not
a
as
problem
much.
to this, not as much of a problem, because I remember as a kid, all those trolleys would be all lined up both ways.
What was the total? I remember they did a study and they counted every person, every trolley, every vehicle, every train that crossed at...
I had that in one of my books.
Yeah, I forget the total number, but it's astounding. It
It's
really
astounding.
is. Not
and
just
years
the rail
ago,
traffic.
when the trolleys were there, they used to be all lined up both ways.
Oh, yeah.
Waiting to go up and come down.
Not just the railroad traffic, but also the foot traffic at that time going up and down.
Oh, sure. Everyone shopped in Penn Street. 88 pages, lots and lots of illustrations. Gloria, what does this sell for in our gift shop?
$14.95.
$14.95 plus tax. It's a great book. A lot of fun to page through. The illustrations are super. Penn Street, the mountain resorts, the canals, railroads, everything is in this thing. It's a good book. This just came out. Our good friend, Chief Bill Rare, and a committee, along with Anthony Mickey's photographs, Michael Kitsock and Michael Glore worked on this book. And it really is a rather good one. It's an Arcadia publication. I've seen good Arcadias and I've seen less than good Arcadias. This is a good one because obviously Police Chief Rare worked on some of the captions, and Police Chief Rare should be on the board of the Historical Society. He knows as much about Reading history and
Fire.
What did I say?
Police
Chief. Sorry about that. Fire Chief Rare. Yeah, no wonder I was getting a strange look over here. Yeah, he knows Reading history as well as anybody around, and he certainly. What astounds me, he knows absolutely every street and every alley. I guess because of fighting fires over the years, he can look at a picture and look at the shadow and tell you about what time of the day it was and where it was taken. He really is a sharp cookie. But anyhow, and his captions are just so good.
He's in a few of the pictures too.
Yeah, he's in a few of the pictures. But the fascinating thing about this, you might say, well, what's so great about Reading firefighting? And by the way, the book, the photographs are super. They really are. I've seen some awfully poor collections in some of the books in these series, but this is really a fine job. There are.
And that's one of the books that's going to be included at the autograph.
That's the autograph party. 127 pages. What I found fascinating about this was the number of fires that I remembered when the 15th Perkiomen Avenue School burned, when they had a fire at the Hodges Apartments, when the Strand burned. We know all about the Strand Theater, don't we, Gloria?
Yes.
That's where we met, at the Strand Theater. When the Embassy burned.
Tell that story.
Oh, no, I won't tell that story. Anyhow. My face is getting red.
I want to hear.
Yeah. Most of us remember a lot of these fires that took place. The Market House. Remember when Harold's Furniture, Liebman's, when a lot of those places burned.
Burning Hardware.
Penn Hardware. That was a biggie when Penn Hardware burned.
Outer Station in there?
The Outer Station,
Station,
1978. Yeah. I was in St. Joe's Hospital looking out the window when my dad was mortally ill up there, looking out, and I saw the Outer Station on fire in 19. That was a terribly cold day because there's a super duper picture. I don't know, can you get that picture? This is a prize winner. The aftermath of the fire. That's this picture.
Huh.
Oops, wrong one. This one. Other side?
Other side?
That's it.
There you go.
Look at all those icicles hanging on the back door of the Outer Station. Gives you an idea of how chilly it was that night.
Does it say the date in there, George?
Oh, yes.
78.
Yeah, when in 78, though?
February the 20th.
Okay.
Here's his caption. The rear entrance to the Reading Railroad Outer Station is covered with icicles the morning after a frigid all-night fire destroyed the 100-year-old, wasn't that 1884?
Pretty close.
The 100-year-old passenger depot on February the 20th, 1978. There's another wonderful picture at the top of that page. This is a great book for finding when all those. I remember when Reading Steam Heat caught fire and destroyed the one main building there. Because when Reading Steam Heat building burned, there were. Sailors went out of business because they depended on Reading Steam Heat for heat. It would have cost too much to retrofit that thing. The courthouse had a big problem because they used Reading Steam Heat. Virtually every store on Penn Street, anyhow. It's all here when the fires took place. High quality photographs.
I was amazed at how comprehensive it is. It just doesn't have the major fires. It has the smaller fires. It has a lot of personnel and equipment in there.
But the neat thing is that everything is so detailed. He gives you the exact locations, not on 5th Street. He gives you the exact locations. He gives you the exact time when the fire took place, what the date was. This is a really, really great book. What does this sell for, Gloria? $19.95 plus tax.
$19.99 plus tax.
$19.99 plus tax.
Yes.
Beautiful book.
It's a beautiful book. It's available right now as we speak. Well, tomorrow morning. It'll be available tomorrow morning at the gift shop of the Historical Society of Berks County. So that's $19.99 plus tax. Not to what?
$21.20, I think it is.
$21.20. Close enough. Okay. Do we have any time? And by the way, before we go back, anything you want to say, Simon?
I just wanted to, I think we maybe ought to tell people, it's a little early, but the 3 Centuries in Berks Historic Property Tour, again, that's going to be coming up, and that's going to be on, like always, the first weekend in October. It'll be October 4th, 2008 this year, and it's the same great property tour, 10 or 12 properties, $25 if you want to drive on your own, $40 if you want to be on the bus where George will be telling you about all the properties and many of the historic sites around Berks County. It's one of the ways, if you've ever driven in the country and you've been on a tour of the county and you see a home and you say, boy, I'd love to see what the inside of that looks like.
This is your chance.
This is your chance. And this year we're going to be exploring Western Berks. So you're looking at Marion, Jefferson, Tulpehocken, those. We're in the process right now of putting together a list of homes and talking to the homeowners to see whether they'll be, just be gracious enough, as they always are, to open those properties and those historic landmarks to the citizens of Berks County. So we're working on that, and we're also in conjunction with the 175th anniversary exhibit. We have a major fundraiser that's coming up called All Aboard, celebrating the 175th anniversary of the Reading Railroad, and that's going to be a fundraising dinner out at the Five Springs Farm, just south of Yellow House. So you can give us a call if you want some more details.
That's going to be a terrific day.
Really is going to be nice. It's going to be an ox and a pig roast, so it's going to be a nice outdoor picnic on June 28th. So
that will be a special time.
It really will be. Yeah, it sure will be. Yeah, there's going to be, the entertainment's great.
The entertainment will be fantastic.
Our major sponsor for this exhibit is the Norfolk Southern Corporation, and they have been gracious enough to help us underwrite this exhibit. And when I talked to them about this fundraising event and said that we were looking for entertainment, they said, well, wait a minute. They said, if you'd like, we have a national touring country western band. It's the official country western band of the Norfolk Southern Corporation, and it's called the Norfolk Southern Lawmen. So they're going to be providing the entertainment. So yeah, it's going to be a really great time.
We should have played a bit of the music. Next time.
Next time we will.
Next time we'll play some music.
They have a number of CDs, and they're all quite good.
Yeah, so we can share them. Okay. Well, we can get anything you want to add, Joshua, before we go on?
I'm good. Beer and Pretzel exhibit, please come in. 5 weeks, closes March 15th.
They don't want to miss that exhibit. That's an extraordinary exhibit. One of the best ever.
There's just things, I know I've said it before, but I will stress it again. These things only exist in basements, and you never see them in public again.
Oh, no.
You never will.
First of all, they're concerned about the value of some of these things because those are extraordinary specimens, really.
But you really will never see it again.
You'll never see them again, because I guess some of the best things are going down to Florida.
Yes.
And we'll never see them again.
Well,
yeah.
Probably.
Oh.
So get in, come see it. We're open Tuesday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Please come see it.
We have time. Do we have time for, if I speak fast? Okay. Oh, wait a minute, before we go on to that, you know, we always used to announce on these programs, now tomorrow morning, remember, First Thursday.
That's right.
But there are no more First Thursdays. I think that was changed, Simon, wasn't it?
It was. We are now First Saturdays. We thought that it was time for a change, number one. First Thursdays was always one of our most successful and well-attended events at the Historical Society, but we decided that in order to get a larger audience and be more inclusive and to have people come in, unless you were...
You work.
Yeah, that's right. Unless you worked the night shift, you couldn't come in many cases. Or were independently wealthy and didn't have to work, you couldn't come. So we switched, starting this February, we switched the First Thursday programs to First Saturday. And they have been this last one was just very well attended. It was part of the Pennsylvania Humanities Council. It was on the Grundsau, or Groundhog Lodges here in Pennsylvania, and how those organizations are helping to keep the Pennsylvania Dutch culture, Pennsylvania German culture alive and well. Next month, it's even going to be just as good a program, and it's going to be Ed Taggart, who is going to be
that's going to be a good one.
Yeah, that's going to Prohibition.
Max Hassel.
Max Hassel.
Well, the subject is going to be on Max Hassel,
Ed Taggart about Max Hassel.
The beer baron.
Yeah, the beer baron, and it'll be about Prohibition in Reading and Berks County during the 1930s.
And you know, we had that one beautiful engraving in the exhibit right now of the Lauer Brewery there at 3rd and Walnut, and Max Hassel owned that.
Is that fact?
It was one of 3 breweries he owned.
Yeah, he won a 3 brewery. He was a millionaire at a very young, was he in his 20s, I believe, when he was a millionaire.
So, yeah.
Good hard work, perseverance.
That'll be
a gun.
And a gun.
And a gun.
Made an offer they couldn't refuse.
Yeah, that's it.
And those First Saturdays are at 10 o'clock. They're 1 hour later than our First Thursdays, where they start at 10 o'clock, still serve some nice breakfast, continental breakfast, starting at 9:30.
Yeah, so you don't have to get out of bed too early. You can just, like I said, come down to the Historical Society, and it's a great way to start your Saturday morning.
Certainly is. And check out the beer and pretzel exhibit at the same time.
There you go.
Okay, I just saw a little message back there that we have about 55 seconds. I don't know if you can see all that many pictures in 55 seconds.
Click really quick, George.
I tend to doubt that. So, reminder, Volume 15, available at the Historical Society, $45, even money, 272 pages. Reading Firefighters, fantastic book, list price $19.99 plus tax. And the one that Charlie Adams worked on, and you people who listen to the radio know that Charlie has a great sense of humor, and it's a good publication. Well, we thank you for spending the past 55 minutes with the Historical Society of Berks County. Be aware that this program repeats this coming Friday at 10, Saturday at 6, and Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Tell your friends about our show, which is on live the first Wednesday of each month at 7 for nearly 20 years. We thank you for watching. So long.